So here we have a 2000 Ford F-150 with 273,000 miles. Yeah. So, and it's running really rough. You can see cylinder 1 on the contribution and cylinder 2. This guy's already been warned and he's aware that the intake manifold is bad and that it's leaking coolant on that side into the spark plug wells, but he really doesn't have the money to fix it, so we'll take it out and see if they're full of coolant, and if they are, then it's gonna have the intake manifold replaced. So this is that same truck with the spark plug that's all rotted out, and he also wants to do an inspection, but I mean, you can see the lower ball joint is really bad, and the sway bar links are coming apart. It's missing the bushing on this bottom one at least. The other side is even worse from what I can see. Try to get as close. I don't want to get on the bottom of the shock. I want to be on the control arm. It's not having my primer hit the camera today. Hopefully I can hang another camera. Okay, so hopefully kind of see. So this is lower. Holy crap! I was not expecting that. I mean, look at the top of the cap on the ball joint. That is bad. That's dangerous. Oh my goodness. Oh, this truck. And then here's the. It's gonna be a little difficult to see. Check this out. See if I can point you guys down in the right direction. This flashlight's a little too bright. Let me fix that. See, that's when the bolt's not, so the bushing inside is just shot. So, I mean, this truck's just a basket case. This is just, you know, some of the stuff. So what we're gonna do, since Mitchell doesn't want to work and I really don't trust Google, we're going to fire up the scanner, get it hooked back up, and we're going to disconnect the ignition coil and see what cylinder goes to a full miss. Then we can determine, because I know these ones, they're 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on one side, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 on the other. So once we unplug some, we'll figure that out. It'll be a little bit more reliable than trusting the computer anyways. We're going to start up. We're going to get it back onto the cylinder contribution, and once it goes into, it starts idling lower, it should go back to normal, start missing. It's just idling high right now. Hopefully you can see that. The glare's pretty bad. Yeah, we're starting to get. We had some number 1. There we go. Okay, now let's go out there and start hooking stuff. Okay, so now we're back to scheduled programming. You can see the intake manifold right there. Really common for these to crack. So we're gonna unhook, presumably, I don't know if this is number, if I can get my hand. I don't know if that's 6 or 2. So now you can see we're missing on number 6, so we know that side's, the driver's side is 5, 6, 7, 8, and this passenger side is 1, 2, 3, 4. Quick and easy way to tell. As long as you know which the order should be, you'll be fine. So now we're just back to 1 and 2, so we're just gonna pull it apart and take a peek at it real quick and see if they're full of water. I'm hoping you can kind of see. Try to get a good shot. So, like we said, this is 1 and 2. Gotta pull them out and take a peek. That's nice. Move the injector over. So it's all nice and stripped for us. That's really nice. And this intake must be aftermarket because the factory ones have fine bolts. At least that one's not stripped, I guess. But if there's coolant in here, then it's a done deal. It's leaking so much coolant, got in the starter and damaged the starter. And I think that answers our question. There's number one. Number two is disconnect the PCB line. That one's being a pain. Some people like to glue these connectors in, and because they always break on these Fords. That one wasn't glued in, it was just really tight. And these boots like to get stuck like that, which is good. You can see all the rust and crust on there. So let's go grab a pair of needle nose. Needle nosing to the rescue. Okay. Hopefully you got your night vision on, because please don't tear. I have spares if it does. Goodness gracious. Look how bad this is. I don't know if you guys are able to see this. I mean, look at all the rust and corrosion in there. You can see the intake manifold. It's really common to leak. What happens is this plastic portion breaks underneath on this cooling jacket, cracks, and it starts leaking everywhere. You can see the valley's full of rust. I mean, this guy, the radiator's leaking. It looks like from the tank right at the top. This truck's just an absolute mess. But still got to try to figure it out and try to help him out a little bit. You know, just get it going for him. At least if we can make it run good for a little bit. Just let him know what's going on. I didn't tear it, but I mean, you can see all the water in there, so. And the other thing, check if there's water in here and you didn't wash it, check the heater hoses at the top. The heater hoses like to leak and these are not. So, now what we should do is blow it out. We got some air inside. There's the blower, there's some rags. So we don't get the crap in the cylinder. Yummy. You don't want all that water going down in the engine. At least, you know, you try your best not to. But you can only do so much. Look at all the corrosion on there. I'll wipe that off. It's crazy. Look at the plug. No signs of carbon tracking though. We probably just had a miss on number 2 really bad. This is the water. If we put it back together, it might be okay for a little bit until it fills with water again. That plug's really tight. Oh yeah, that plug is very, very tight for one of these engines. I really don't want to break my ratchet. Yeah, that's extremely tight. What I find kind of funny is generally when I record, I have more of a difficult time doing things. Like this is kind of an oddity. It's moving. You can feel it. Get a little lube down there. But this is, I can't remember having to deal with this before, but That's why the plug wire was stuck in there. And you should always use locking extensions, not like me. I'd use a swivel plus. Use a locking one. Makes your life a lot easier. But this style of engine from Ford, whether it be the 4.6, the 5.4, or the 6.8, in the 2-valve era, are extremely reliable. They're very good engines. Besides, if it has the plastic intake, most of them have the plastic intake. Some don't. I think the V10s don't have a plastic intake. They're all aluminum, which are really good. They don't have any problems with that. You know, these engines, they do have spark plugs blowing out. That's really not that big of a deal. As long as you change them when you need to and tighten them up good and tight, then you'll be fine. If you do have a problem, you know, TimeCert makes a kit to fix them, which works absolutely amazing. I've used that kit hundreds of times and it just works so good. So plugs will never pop out again. Might have to let this one soak. This is not being my friend today. It's almost like working on a 3-valve without the noise. The 3-valve spark plugs usually creak on the 5.4 liter or 4.6. I have yet to do a 3-valve 6.8. I don't think they've made that many of those. Not like these. The 3-valves are not very good engines. I'm not fond of them. Coming. Oh, my goodness. Oh. These only have like 4 or 5 threads holding the spark plug in, so look at all that crap. It's mostly WD-40. Look at that plug. Look how rusted it is. That's nuts. That's why it wouldn't come out. If you're ever doing a tune-up on one of these, don't run auto lights. Always try to use the factory spark plug. A Motorcraft spark plug is the best for these trucks. These are garbage. So, and that plug's worn pretty bad too. It's 50, 56. Be careful, put the battery in your car. Yeah, no, I'm not even this spark plug. Spec is 52 to 56. We can get it to 65 thousandths. So I think for this right now, we're gonna have to call him and see what the customer wants to do. It doesn't. Yeah, it's just, this thing's just a mess. I mean, to fix it properly, the intake manifold's gonna have to be replaced. And we've already been down this road with him and he doesn't want to replace it. He doesn't have the money to, so he's just gonna deal with it. But we're gonna have to call him and see what he wants to do, because this is just turning into a mess. Just gonna continuously do it, do it. But we'll see what he says. I'll update you guys. So we've progressed quite a bit on this truck. So what happened last, we hopefully that's a decent shot. So we did the 2 front spark plugs and checked it. It was missing on number 2 still, so we put an ignition coil in there. The boot was fine. 1 and 2 perfectly fine. Now we have a miss on number 4. Typical. Now everything we're pulling out of this thing, this whole side, the intake manifold's been leaking. It filled all the plug wells full of coolant. The plugs, I think this is the one we pulled out of number 8. Just horrible, horrible, horrible. He doesn't have the time nor the money to fix this coolant leak at this time, so he needs it back. We're just gonna band-aid it back together. And it is what it is. The front end, I don't know if I said this, the front end in this thing is wrecked. So he says he's gonna do the ball joints and the upper control arms, because that's the bare minimum that I do right now, just to make it drivable and safe on the street. I mean, I still want hurting nobody, but let me go grab a ratchet. Let's get the back one tight, and then we'll that was number 4 you just saw. We're gonna try not to change the coil packs. No, I'm trying to keep it as low cost as possible. But we're definitely gonna stuff the. We're gonna put them back together. I still got to do number 3. Number 3, the boot tore on the plug. So we're gonna take a pick and pick out the remaining piece of boot. I try to do this all by feel. See if I can get on there. These are a pain when this happens. I think I hear it. That's either the boot or my pick scraping. Probably a little bit of both. And this, again, isn't the boot tearing in here isn't a common issue. I had somebody else take it apart. I'm thinking, oh, I got it. Look at that. They might not have twisted the boot. Because the trick is you get it in between the plug and the boot like this, then they get stuck. Get in between, and then you just roll it around, and it seems to work. There we go. That happens all the time. So here's the boot that was left. Actually came right out. Now we're gonna blow it out again. Try to not contaminate this engine. Try. There we go. Okay, now let's get the spark plug socket. Let's get it all rusty. Shove it down there, try to keep it clean. Number 4 is in and tight. I'm gonna use my electric ratchet to get this one out. Okay. Let's see how bad this one is. It's pretty gnarly. Looks like they came out of the bottom of the ocean. And this intake looks like it's already been replaced. Because the factory ones don't have these wood screw-like screws holding the spark plugs in place. So I just use this to run it down. Yeah. Got to. Got to educate. I don't know how much I'm going to educate, but we're all going to learn. That's all that matters. I teach you, you teach me. That's the way we do it. Okay, so that one went in. Okay, so unfortunately, the boot's torn off the other one, so we're gonna have to figure something out here. So we're gonna change the boot on number 3. And number 4, I ordered a Motorcraft boot, just the boot. They usually come with the springs, but I guess maybe not anymore. I do like to change the springs. This is number 3. We didn't have a problem with it, but we're putting a plug in it so we don't have to worry about it. Put a new boot on that, and then for number 4, he said just to go ahead and change the coil, so we don't have any problems with it. And now we need to figure out a way to seal it so it doesn't get any of this rust water into the plug wells. I'm thinking either I don't really want to use silicone. I'd rather use dielectric grease. But I'm not too sure how long dielectric grease would last. That's my only fear. Unless we just put a little bit of silicone around it. That's a tough call to make. If you put silicone in there, it's gonna make it a nightmare for the next person. But let me figure this out. So, what we're gonna do, I'm not too fond of this, but this is what he wants. He does not want these to leak. So, I'm just gonna put some silicone. We don't want no more coolant getting in these until he can get some time and get in here. And I don't condone this. This isn't the way I'd normally do this. This is what the customer wants, and sometimes, not all the time, the customer is right. And this is just the way it's gonna be for right now, you know? This isn't the way we normally do stuff here though. I've actually never had to do this before. Usually this, you get a new intake, call it a day. Get a new intake, some boots, maybe a coil, one or, you know, whatever needs to be replaced, and ship it, and it's good to go. This guy likes to make things complicated. It's a real world repair here. Not really a repair. I'm gonna call it a band-aid. I really don't like this. It's not my style, but what are you gonna do? I'm not even gonna test drive this. Look at this boot. Oh, let's put the other boot on at least. I think that is the one by the you already got the crash shot in? Yeah. You can check the oil? Let me know where that's at. Huh? Let me know where the oil's at. Okay. We've been booted, greased, ready to roll. I just don't want to have to go back in this side, especially if we silicone it. It's going to make it horrible for the next guy. The next guy's probably going to be me. Silicone. Leave some trails. Yeah, this is not ideal, and I'm not too excited to do this. And the other guy lost my 7mm socket on this truck somewhere, so we'll have to see if we can find it. The one who's taking it apart. It happens, but it sucks. These you don't want to tighten too tight because it's plastic. Like, this is how you can tell when these are Dorman. This is usually a Dorman or Napa intake manifold. It's got the wood screw style. These from the factory, they came with like a freaking, like a really small screw, or I should say a bolt. Really fine thread. It's the same head size as this. It's still a 7, but it's not like a wood screw like this is. I really want my socket back though. I'll find it. Hopefully it's all good now after this. Can't even see. Maybe use the night vision. vision's not so good anymore like it used to be. I think I was in. Look at that, I was actually in. That's nuts. That was a good guess. Now the back one. Okay, let's get check it and see what it calls for on the computer. It's probably gonna call for 80-90 because it's old. Okay. Done. There's. Yeah, make sure you plug these in all the way, especially the. Sometimes you gotta unplug the fuel injectors. Always want to make sure you unplug them. Be careful of these connectors. They love to break on these. I'm not gonna say it until I get them all. I can't believe it, but none of them broke on this. That is a miracle right there. So we got that. The PCB's hooked back up. And that's. I don't even want to see that. The cooling hose is all funky. I'm thinking we might build a little dam in here with silicone to keep the coolant from going to the back. Look at that. I think I'm just gonna put a whole damn silicone. No, don't tell nobody about this. I'll let the customer know what we're doing. He doesn't care. He just wants it fixed-ish, you know? Again, not my favorite thing to do, but you know, customer's gonna pay for it, so it is what it is. And I need to find my 7. Video of this. So when I get the screen on, I don't know if you guys can see that. Look at that in the corner. That's funny. Well, at least I found it. Last thing I want to do is hit the fan and have a bad day. Well, let's see what happens. So everything's put back together. This is gonna be, I gotta go through, clear the codes first. I just want to make sure it runs okay. We're not gonna drive. No, it actually seems to run. The truck doesn't shake. So it runs better. Gonna get back to him.